the history lecture on Abraham Lincoln. Now, Abraham Lincoln is famous because he was a president. Does anybody know which number president he was? Kasha? One sec. Kasha?
16.
He was the 16th. And he's one of the few presidents that gets a nickname. Does anybody, Taj, you remember what Abraham Lincoln's nickname was? Zuri?
Honest Abe.
It was Honest Abe. That is exactly right. Can somebody explain to me why he got that nickname? Emiko?
Because he was honest.
That's true, but there was a story about him from our book that we read that explained why people started calling him that. Caleb?
He was paying a lady 6 cents too much, so he showed up at her house, and asked for the money back.
Well, kind of. She gave him too much money, and he could have just kept that money. When I was working at Trader Joe's the other day, somebody was paying for their groceries, and the groceries were $102, and they gave me $122 and were about to walk away. I could have kept that $20, and would anybody have known? No. But I wanted to be like Abraham Lincoln, so I was like, oh, ma'am, and I gave the $20 back to her because it must have gotten stuck together. So Abraham Lincoln was honest. Malachi, have a seat, buddy. So his nickname is Honest Abe. He is the 16th president, and he is on our money. Does anybody know which currency he is on? Does anybody know what kind of money is Abraham Lincoln on? Malachi?
He's on the penny and the $5 bill.
He's on the penny and the $5 bill. Very good. Now, when he was growing up, was he rich or poor? I want to spread out the love. Taj, Blake, anybody? Taj, was Abraham Lincoln rich or poor when he was growing up?
Poor.
He was poor, right? And so that put him at a disadvantage. Does anybody remember how he learned to read and write? Caleb?
He went to school for a few years, that's how?
Yeah, but then he taught himself. So he was very hardworking and he was very smart. And he grows up, he's a lawyer, and then he joins government. Now, one of the reasons that Abraham Lincoln is so famous is because he was president during a very important time. Do you remember what happened when Abraham Lincoln became the president of the United States? Zuri, do you know?
Yeah, Civil War.
The Civil War, very good. Can anybody explain to me what the Civil War was? What was the Civil War? Sounds like a war. Caleb?
It was a war between the North and the
It was a war between the North and the South. Emiko, you're killing me. What was the war about? Emiko?
Freedom?
Kind of, or maybe the opposite of freedom. What was the war about? Anybody know? Blake, do you know? No? Then try and pay attention. The war was about slavery. In the United States, when the United States was first formed, everybody was not equal. Some people could buy other human beings. And in the southern half of the United States, they kept people as slaves and forced them to work for free. This had been going on since the 1600s. For hundreds of years, African Americans were enslaved in the United States. Does anybody know what that word means? What is a slave? What does that mean? If you enslave somebody, what does that mean, Kasha?
That means that the slave has to do whatever the owner says.
That has to do whatever the owner says. Anything else? What does slavery mean, Emiko?
Slavery means that the slave has to be kept and do what the owner says, and if it doesn't do it, that means it has to go to jail.
Kind of, yeah. Slavery meant making people property. And so, property doesn't have any rights. If I smash my PlayStation with a hammer, will the police come and arrest me? No, because it's my property. And so the thing that is terrible about slavery, a bunch of things, but that it takes a human being and makes them no better than an object. And so people have been enslaved in the South for hundreds of years. The Civil War is between the North, the northern states that were called the Union, and the southern states that were called the Confederacy. Everybody with me so far? Give me a thumbs up if you're still with me. It's hard for me to tell because we're all looking around. So when Abraham Lincoln is elected in 1860, some of the states in the South decide to leave the Union because they were afraid that Abraham Lincoln would free the slaves. And the people in the South wanted to keep people as slaves because they were making a lot of money. And so the Civil War kicks off. And it was very, very hard and very, very bloody. Ben, will you please put your toy away? Now, we're going to talk more about the Civil War in general. We're just focusing on Abraham Lincoln. For 3 years, the Civil War is fought. Tens of thousands of people are shot and killed. And it is a bloody affair. But in 1863, Abraham Lincoln does something very, very, very nice. Can you turn in your book to page, where is it? No, never mind, I'll just tell you. In 1863, he signs what document, Ben?
The Emancipation Proclamation.
The Emancipation Proclamation, very good, Ben. What is the Emancipation Proclamation? Does anybody know? Malachi, what's the Emancipation Proclamation?
The Emancipation Proclamation frees over 3.9 million slaves, but it doesn't free all the slaves.
Very good.
And emancipation means free, and proclamation means to. I forgot what proclamation means, but emancipation means to free.
That is so good. Emancipation means to free somebody from slavery. Proclamation, I see you, Ben. I see you. I'm just not calling on you. Proclamation means proclaim, to say something. So the Emancipation Proclamation was saying to the people that Abraham Lincoln was freeing many of the slaves. He did not free all of the slaves. That comes in the 13th Amendment. But it does free all of the slaves in the South, in the Confederate States of America. So the northern states were called the Union. The southern states were called the Confederate States. What were the northern states called? Caleb?
The Union.
The Union. They wanted to unify or keep America whole. What were the southern states called? Blake?
Confederate States.
Boom, very good. The Confederate States. And the Confederate States, the southern states, wanted to break away from the Union so that they could keep slavery. The Union wins after almost 5 years of fighting. Abraham Lincoln is elected in 1860 and again in 1864. Now, let's say that in the future, Kasha is running for president. and she's elected in November. But the president doesn't start right away. She gets elected in November, but she doesn't start for November, December, January. She doesn't start for 3 months. During that time, she's called the president-elect. She's not president yet, but she has been elected. She's the president-elect. When you actually start doing the job of president, that word is called inauguration. What word means starting the presidency, Malachi?
Inauguration.
Inauguration. The inauguration day is the first day where you actually start doing the job. Now, every president, when they're inaugurated, they give a inauguration day speech. This is the last thing, we got to go because you guys got to go to Miss Moore. In 1865, President Abraham Lincoln is shot and killed by a man named John Wilkes Booth. He's the first president to be assassinated. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. We're going to talk more about it on Monday because it's very important. So I'm going to unmute you guys just before we leave. What time are we meeting on Monday? Zero.
Oh, no. Never mind.
Okay. What time are we meeting on Monday, Ben?
9.
9 o'clock. What should you have with you at 9 o'clock?
Your spelling
History,
and your
science,
science and spelling.
Your history and science books, your spelling packet, and a pencil. Should you be chilling on the floor crisscross applesauce?
No.
No, you want to be
No.
seated in a place where you can write and focus. See, I'm at a desk. I can write. I have my computer.
I'm
Right.
at test 2.
Anyways, you guys are all dismissed. You can leave this meeting and join Miss Moore's meeting. It was good to see all of you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Go to the bottom, Kasha, where it says leave meeting in red and hit that.
See ya, guys. Wouldn't like to be
See
here,
ya.
guys.
See ya. See ya. Bye. See ya, Blake. Hello, Kaylee. Aaron, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, Maya.
Hey.